Hi, this is Brad with Copper Creek Cuts, a lawn care company in Northeast Florida. This video is a continuation of another one that was showcasing some stormwater management jobs I had at a specific site. We were trying to see why these swales were not draining properly. So the main goal of this first visit was to clear out all of the culverts, all of the drainage areas, and see what was going on. But we're just clearing out enough to see what's going on to diagnose any issues. To do that, of course, we have the Ventrac with the Tough Cut deck. It's got the dual wheel kit. In the last video, I talked about it a little, but the reason you have these dual wheel kits on the Ventrac tractors, first, it lets you operate on steeper slopes up to 30 degrees versus 20 degrees with just single wheels. But the other thing is it improves your traction, and the machine also floats a lot more. I don't mean that literally where it would float if you put it in water. Though as an interesting side note, I do believe, and I could be wrong on the number, someone at Ventrac once told me the engineers calculated that if you could attach 8 wheels onto each axle, that would be enough to literally float the Ventrac in a body of water. I would pay money to see that done one day, but I'm not putting up my Ventrac for it. So somebody else has to use theirs. But having the 8 wheels makes it float a little bit better over the mud, over those wet spots. Now, when it comes to this part of the job, I am 100% confident there's going to be somebody in the comments that says, oh, you need a mini excavator with a rake attachment for this. You can't do this job without it. And while I will agree that certain tools make the job easier, I don't have a mini excavator. And one other thing that I found is that the mower shop that I use that has a rental side, most of them don't have mini excavators. It's a weird size machine that I found a lot of folks don't carry unless you're like a Home Depot. But now the issue with Home Depot is that it's an hour in the other direction from this job. So if I go from my home to Home Depot, that's an hour. I pick up the rental first thing in the morning. Then I've got to go 2 hours to the job site. Well, now I've already eaten 2 hours out of my 8-hour rental. I've only got it for 4 hours before I've got to get back on the road. It doesn't make any sense logistically for me to rent one. And there may be a place closer, but in the immediate area I was working, there wasn't one. But you're going to run into the same issues where you've got to time everything around getting to the equipment yard first, and then you got to travel back to the work site, and you're just not going to get a full day in. If you've got rental equipment, you can't. So in this case, the old 10-2, 10 fingers on 2 hands machine worked just fine. I was able to get enough grass out to diagnose the situation and see that the grass wasn't the issue. The point of this job was not to clear everything out. It was just to see what was going on. And the other thing to keep in mind, in addition to the logistic issues of getting the rental, I still needed some way to transport all the debris that I took out, right? An excavator is great for grabbing it out, but you're not gonna make 150 trips with one little claw full of grass from an excavator. So I had to have the Ventrac with a bucket in order to take care of this. The area, it doesn't look steep, but there was really no good place for me to get my trailer right next to where like an excavator could dump. There's a lot of consideration that made this a decision where I realized, yeah, I'm just gonna have to deal with it, as well as the profit margins and would it make sense for the expense of an excavator for this one little part, or does it make sense to just slog it out for an hour with manual labor? So it's really easy just to say, oh, you need an excavator. But when it comes down to practical application, it's more complicated than that. And of course, all this stuff is considered, not hazardous waste is the right word. You can't just throw it with all the regular yard debris because of all the runoff and what it might come into contact with. So that was this small section of job. I'll be making videos on the others. I want to say there's 3 or 4 more that we can cover off of this one visit. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks so much for watching.
Well, that's quick and easy.